Clever. Justice Pillay, I have a few questions for you too.
Yes, Chief Justice.
I noticed when Honorable Singh asked you, flowing from the comments that he read, whether you were a friend or a close acquaintance of Mr. Haneko and Minister Gordhan. You said, with respect to Mr. Haneko, no, I'm not his friend. And then with regard to Minister Gordhan, you said, do I know Mr. Gordhan? Yes, I know Mr. Gordhan. There is no way I could not know him. It was after Mr. Honorable Malema asked you in a more pointed way, again, whether you were friends, that you admitted friendship. Let me tell you where I'm going from. I'm going to. During the last interviews for the Constitutional Court that you attended, and while the JSC program was running, my office got a call from the office of Minister Pravin Gordhan seeking an appointment with me. And I was a bit surprised. We had never met except at the meeting of the heads of the arms of the state, where he had to brief us as Minister of Finance regarding the true state of the fiscus at the time, so that we embark on the cost-cutting measures that you might be aware we tried to introduce afterwards. He came, I took a break from the JSC proceedings, and I really don't know what the purpose of the meeting was. I don't have a clear recollection. I think there was something about the tax ombuds, but what stuck to my mind and left me puzzled was the following. He asked me a question. He said, how did my friend Daya Pillay perform? And we had just caused the spokespersons to announce the results, and I told him, because it was public knowledge, that you did not make it. And the thing has stayed with me. It got renewed as Honorable Sim read the question to you, as Honorable Malema engaged you. I said, why did the Honorable Minister make an effort to meet me? We are not friends. I don't know him from anywhere except from television. Why did he make a trip? Seek an audience with me just to ask me, how did my friend Daya Pillay perform? So it is in that context that the concern regarding your relationship with Honorable Minister Gordhan arises, and my concern regarding your initial response, which didn't seem to admit or acknowledge friendship, arises. Now, I'll put to you what others have probably put to you, so that you can deal with it and be satisfied that you've dealt with it. It doesn't have to be a long answer. Is it potentially compromising to judicial independence and impartiality for a minister or a senior politician to be keenly interested in the upward mobility, or to look like he or she is keenly interested in the upward mobility of a judge? And let me explain. I'm raising it because you remember there was an issue about friendship between a politician and a judge not so long ago. It seems to be an issue. That's why I want you to deal with it. Just in your own ways. Just deal with it as briefly as you can without compromising the quality of your answer.
Chief Justice, I wasn't aware of this interaction between you. and Mr. Gordhan, Minister
I
Gordhan.
believe you.
Thank you. And from what you tell me, it seems as though the decision had already been made about
But
my.
he wasn't aware. But he wasn't aware that it was made.
Sorry, he wasn't aware, you say?
No, he wasn't.
Yes, but so my next question for clarification, Chief Justice, from what I gather you say is that he simply asked, how did my friend do? Did he say anything like you should appoint her or anything like that?
No, he didn't.
Okay, so I would imagine that it must have been in the course of whatever else he was doing with you, it came up as casual conversation. This was the gathering in Cape Town, if I recall.
There was a gathering in Cape Town, and as soon as he asked the question, I immediately gave him a response. He didn't make it.
And then, but that was a gathering I remember where my interview was supposed to be on the Tuesday, and I was phoned on the Monday morning after having celebrated Judge Thamba Pillai's 80th birthday, and I was hoping to recover from that on Monday and make my way to Cape Town, but I was interviewed that evening, late in the evening. So, but the reason for that, I understood, was that there was a big thing going on with the Minister of Justice, with the Minister of Finance, but there was something else that had to be, that compromised the JSC hearings, and we had to shrink it into the first day. But there was some other big thing happening that time. But so I'm assuming that he must have called you about that. I don't know what he called you about. And I know that Mr. Gordhan would not promote me or any of his friends precisely because of his high profile and the fact that he would be accused of this. That's the extent to which I know. Whether he's, I certainly wouldn't rely on him to promote me at all. And as far as our relationship has been, our boundaries have been strictly observed. I can only imagine that he asked you in passing in relation to the other business. And I think he was disclosing to you that he was my friend, which is no secret.
Okay. Now, the next question is yesterday, and I think it's fair that the question be put to you as well. Our colleague, Judge Kolapen, was asked, given your age, if you were to be appointed, you won't be able to serve the full term. And that applies to you too, because you're only 7 months and 20 days younger than him. You will therefore, one, if appointed, qualify for a higher salary. Two, but then not serve at the full period of a constitutional court justice and retire with a higher salary in circumstances where another candidate who would have given us the full length of the period would thereby have benefited the state for a much longer period. I know it's a difficult and unfair question to ask, but let me ask it anyway. Given the financial challenges, the budgetary constraints under which our government operates, the state operates, does it accord with cost efficiency to, or is it cost effectiveness? Sometimes English escapes me. Does it accord with the commitment to manage our resources as parsimoniously as circumstances dictate? That you appoint somebody who's not going to give you the service for the full period recommended, have the person retire, and get that higher salary for the rest of the life, is his or her life, in circumstances where another candidate would have served us for the full term?
Well, Chief Justice, you know, the applications have been delayed because I applied last year. You'd have got an extra year's service if I was appointed and this process had moved on. But I retire in 2 years otherwise. And I retire with full pay, which means that I will be minding my potatoes in my backyard earning a state salary, even if it is for less than the judge's salary by about, 10,000-15,000 or whatever. But that's the one thing to think about. The other is the cost of effective dispute resolution. Now, I think Dan Glodlow, our colleague, gave the best answer to that question, the age question. He says a ripe lemon is much sweeter than a sour one. And to miss out on the experience that I bring, the possibilities of scholarship and rendering decisions that have a wider acceptance. So the cost of effective dispute resolution on the one hand, and the savings that you make of 15,000 per month or whatever it is must be balanced, and that's a decision that the Commission must make.
Now, the issue about attacks, your comments on the attacks on the judges, I think we need to go through that. One, you're aware that you and I and other judges discussed the issue of attacks against the judiciary. And I remember in your own comments saying, while we were discussing it, you can only succeed in giving airtime, undeserved airtime, to this kind of remarks if you're going to comment or respond as the judiciary. So I'm raising it because I heard you raise what I thought was a concern about the need for the leadership of the judiciary to protect the judges. Do you now think that it's necessary to respond, contrary to what you had earlier said to me and to other colleagues?
Absolutely not.
When we had, all right, okay.
Absolutely
now,
not.
And of course, the issue of allegations that you are on the CR17 list, which is something that has been said of a number of other colleagues, that they are on the CR17 pay list, can only be resolved if the document that allegedly contains the names of people who were paid were to be made known to us. But for as long as we don't have access to that document, there is no way in which one can be able to say, but it's a lie. Judge so-and-so is not on that list. I have seen it. As long as we don't know what is on the list and you issue a public statement, what are you going to say? Are you going to say he or she is on the list or not? We don't know.
Yeah.
Is that not so?
Absolutely. Chief Justice, just to go back to your earlier point, there was a reason why we, as a collective, took the decision not to make a statement as a judiciary at that point in time. But earlier, in response to the attacks after the warrant of arrest order, the court did make a statement. Our DJP did issue a statement. So when I say that the question was asked, what should we do? And I was saying that the leadership, the judiciary needs to defend the institution. It was an observation and it wasn't a criticism. And I stand by the decision we took, and I won't say why. We took the decision we did, that there won't be a statement issued at that time I fully endorse it.
And of course, you're aware that when judges in provincial divisions or specialist courts are attacked, it becomes the responsibility of the leader of that court to liaise with the spokesperson for the judiciary to craft the statement that could then be issued on behalf of the division, rather than the Chief Justice trying to get involved in everything as if there are no leaders, as if there are no competent leaders to handle such matters.
Well, that was exactly what was done. The DJP issued a statement.
Yes. Thank you very much, Justice Pillay.